In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I do the most common haircut in a barbershop, a 1.5 blade with the grain and a mid taper. So I comb it out first to lift the hairs off the scalp and ensure an even cut. Now I remove all the hair with the air compressor down the ear to protect the eardrum. Now moving on with my trimmers. These are my sensitive area bulk remover trimmers, so they're not irritating them or cutting them too short in this area. I'm removing all the facial hair below the taper area. Now I'm moving to the back. I tend to curve the back areas because I like the way it gives me the blend, a strong blend, but it also allows me to have a longer lineup that frames the blend. It just makes it look better in my opinion. See, I curved the sides as well. I think it just makes for a more contoured blend, and it just looks smoother in my opinion. So now I grab my zero gap magic clips and I have the lever all the way open for the second area. This area is going to be about 1 inch in width. I'm making sure that it's consistent all the way across. Before closing the lever to the halfway point, and I go about halfway to 3/4 of the way into that lever open area. Then I close it all the way, flicking out on that line and completely removing it. Okay, next area is 1 guard, lever all the way open, being sure to flick out off of the shape of the skull. Combing the hairs back into position and ensuring that everything's even. And now I'm going to throw on my 1.5 guard, lever all the way open. I'm going about 2 inches above the 1 guard area and flicking out off the shape of the skull. I close the lever halfway. I drop down to about 1 inch above the 1 guard area, and then I close it all the way and flick out on that line and connect the 1 guard to the 1.5 area. Now with my half guard on and the lever in between the halfway and 3/4 open mark, I go about halfway to 3/4 into that 1 guard area. Then I close the lever down in between the 1/4 and halfway open mark, and I go about 1/4 to halfway into the 1 guard area. Then I close it all the way and I flick out right on that line. And with the faint line still there, I'll take off my guard and come in with lever open and no guard. You see it completely connects the 2 areas together. A little clipper over comb action. And I remove all the cut hairs with an air tool. And now moving on to the back. Lever all the way open. And flicking out when I'm making this area, it helps for the transition into the next one. Right, I close the lever halfway. I go about 3/4 of the way into that area. In between 3/4 and halfway into that area. Then I close it all the way and it'll completely connect the ball to the lever open area. You'll see some people like to put all their areas in at once and then blend downwards. I personally do it in this order because sometimes I lose the line in my blend. I can't see where the bald and the lever open area are sometimes, so this helps me out doing that first. So we have the 1 guard on now with the lever all the way open, and we're flicking out as we're making about a 1.5 inch area, making sure it's even all the way across. You can see that shadow above this area already forming around the occipital bone especially. So we have our 1.5 guard on, lever all the way open. I'm going about 1 inch or 2 inches above the 1 guard area, flicking out. Then I close the lever halfway. I go about 1/4 of the way into that new area. I close it all the way, focus right on that line in between the 1 guard and 1.5 area. I just do the same thing to the other side. Combing all hairs back into position and being sure to angle your clippers with the changing hair direction. I turned the chair a little bit and seeing a little bit more darkness. I wanted to get out my 1.5 guard. And now I put on my 2 guard lever all the way closed. And I'm focusing on that shadow area that I've seen all around the occipital bone. Combing the hairs back down into place, seeing where we're at. Making another pass. There's a taper blade on your magic clip, so it does not hit every hair evenly. So sometimes you have to go over things a few times. See, I'll look back through my camera and it'll show me something and I'll reapproach. Half guard on with the lever in between the halfway and 3/4 of the way open mark. I go about halfway to 3/4 into that 1 guard area. I then close the lever down to in between the halfway and 1/4 close mark. I go about halfway to 1/4 of the way into the 1 guard area. Then I'll close it all the way and I'll completely remove that line. And now I'll do the other side same way. 3/4 to halfway open, go 3/4 to halfway into the area. Close it down to halfway or 1/4, go about halfway or 1/4 into the area. It's the same thing over and over. Right, close the lever all the way. This is going to connect the lever open no guard to the 1 guard lever open area. Looking at it from different directions, making sure there's no lines in it. And it doesn't have to be 100% done. We're going to lay down the hair as always, and that could change the blend substantially, so you don't want to ever take it up too high initially. While tapering, you may notice some hairs stuck underneath the skin. In this case, I see actual pimple forming around it, so I'm not going to pluck the hair. I'm just pulling it out from underneath the skin, so now it should be all right. That should subside for him shortly. And you'll see he was cut by another barber before me, and he really pushed in his line. You see almost a ½ an inch in some spots on the back, so I have to make sure I blend it accordingly. And we're going to bring that line out where it's supposed to be. Especially on clients with curly hair, you don't want to push in that natural line in the back. You're running the risk of ingrown hairs. It's definitely going to give them ingrown hairs if you push the line in too far. Now on the side, we're running through our same lever positions. Now we have the lever all the way open, going up about 1 inch. Close the lever halfway. We go about 3/4 of the way or halfway into that area, flicking out. Close it all the way. We flick out right on that line. Connect the ball to the lever open area. 1 guard on, lever open. Going up about 1.5 inches for this area. And after I do that, I notice that there's a lot of bulk above where my blending area is going to be. So I put my 2 guard on, lever closed, and I'm just removing some of that. It'll help put my blending in a better perspective for me without that distraction. You see all the hair grows to the back on this side. That's why I'm approaching it at an angle towards the front, because we want to cut it against the grain. With the 1.5 guard on, I come in with the lever all the way open. I go about 1.5 inches, 2 inches above the 1 guard area. I close it halfway. I drop down to about ½ an inch above the 1 guard area. Then I close it all the way, and I completely connect the 1 guard to the 1.5 guard area. Half guard on, lever in between the 3/4 and halfway open position. Go 3/4 to halfway into the 1 guard area. I close the lever down to in between the halfway and quarter-way open area. I go up about halfway to quarter-way into that 1 guard area. Then I close it all the way, and I flick out on that line and completely connect the areas. Brushing the hair at the end to really get a good view of it. Pretty much done. You want to be about 85% done with your blends before you do this. I'm putting a leave-in conditioner spray on, followed by a gel cream for waves. I'm using a soft bristle brush starting in the crown and working my way outwards evenly all over. And with that product applied, it's giving me more control of the hair and also restored some of the moisture, brightens it up. All right, do-rag, snug it down. Pat it down with your hands and go over the ears. Secure it. Pull that loose fabric out of the crown by holding the front and tugging the tail in the back. I have my diffuser on with the high heat, high fan setting. Being careful because this gets hot. And I cleaned up his facial hair in the meantime. And I came back again for another round of heat. Removing the do-rag, seeing where I'm at. I like to brush the hair after the product because it sometimes has a wet look, and this gives it more of a natural look where the hairs are going to naturally fall. And after I brush that wet look out of the hair, I take a 91% alcohol on a neck strip, and I strip all the natural oils and product off of the line and skin. You can see again, he pushed them in on that side, so this wipe is going to allow us to get a solid line as far out as naturally possible. Combined with the holding spray, I'd say the alcohol is one of the biggest tricks to getting a sharp lineup. So while that holding spray is drying, I'm just hitting some of the strays on top before coming in with my sharpest liners. And this side was pushed in as well, so I'm bringing the line out a little bit more. You can still see a double line there, so I'm going to blend it out some. All right, and I'm liking the way it's looking, really camouflage that. And on this side, bringing the line over the ear. Making sure not to irritate the skin, it's sensitive over the ear. Just fine-tuning some of the blend. Because like I said, sometimes the product can change your blend. Now I'm going to move on to the other side of the nape, making sure I'm coming in at the same angle that I did on the other side. And you'll see I'm going to be bringing the line out about ½ an inch in some spots where it was pushed in on his previous haircut. Using my sensitive area liners on the bottom of his nape, so it doesn't irritate them. And now I'll start to bring the line over the ear. I like to use a brush instead of a comb to lay down the hairs over the ears before lining. It just works better for me. And again, I'm just hitting the hairs, the ends of the hairs. I'm not pushing the line in. Just enough to get a prominent line to show. Now this side was pushed back by the previous barber, but we're bringing the line back out. It's not going to be quite as crispy, but we'll do our best to make it look how it's supposed to and get him back to his natural line with the least amount of regrowth possible. So after we matched up that other temple line, I start in the beginning of the front line and I work my way towards the highest side, being sure not to go too far into the line. I'm only hitting the ends of the hairs, just enough to show me a lineup. So now I just match the other side to that. Be careful so that you don't go too high up initially and then you have to push the higher side up higher. So it's okay to make two passes on their left-hand side when you're matching up to the right. Right, and this C-cup area was the highest, so I approached it first, and then I matched the other one to it. Remember, all the hair grows to the back on this side, so it can be a little bit tougher to get a prominent line to show. I use my sensitive area liners normally for the C-cup area because people tend to whelp up there with my super crispy liners. So I remove all that loose hair with a powdered wash rag before applying a shave solution and putting a razor line on an already established lineup. I've been liking the shave solution over the gel. It's just a lot less messy. Sometimes that gel's a little too sticky and it's too thick. These newer shave solutions, I think, are the future. So I'm removing all that product with a steam towel. And I'm hitting the tapered areas as well, just to soothe the skin that could be irritated. But this shave towel is not only removing the shave solution, it's removing all that leftover holding spray that's on the lineup and the skin around it. Witch hazel alcohol mix, 70% alcohol mixed with witch hazel, 50-50. Right now I'm drying out the whole lineup area with a powdered wash rag and a soft bristle brush. Going all the way around the whole lineup. We want to make sure when we're fine tuning at the end that the hairs are dry. So I comb all the hairs over the existing line and remove all the overhang. Going over the lineup multiple times like I do ensures that the client won't be surprised when he gets home or in the next couple days brushes his hair. It's not going to be a whole bunch of hairs coming over his line. Now I'm applying a pomade. I'm brushing in with a soft bristle brush, following it with my hand to really help lay it down. Making sure I'm evenly brushing all the way around and not forgetting that crown area. Now, I prefer to put the pomade on first before I use any enhancements, but some people like to do it in the opposite order. All right, now I'm going to throw this do-rag on again, securing it and hitting it with the diffuser, high heat setting. For about 20 seconds, it melts all that pomade and absorbs into the hair, and then we let them sit for a couple minutes so that it dries. Removing the do-rag after, seeing where we're at. So I run over with a brush all around the lineup, and I hit all the overhang. So this is like the third time we're going over the lineup, but it hasn't moved in any. We just keep hitting the overhang. Brought that line all the way out. And sometimes after the pomade, you'll see dark spots in your blend that you gotta take care of. Making sure it's all the way together. So I like to lean my clients back at some point and use my shears to hit the hairs that are popping up off of the front line. These hairs, you don't see them that well from the front, but they're actually distracting from the line. And this is just one more thing towards the direction of having the sharpest lineup possible. Adjusting this other side of the nape. Brought this shit back. Right, I usually start with the corner with my water-resistant enhancement. Now I work my way up the temple line, then around the C-cup area, lightening up as I'm going down in the taper, of course. You see, I already had a very prominent natural line, and this is just enhancing what was already looking good. Besides having a solid cut in place, I think it's important that we're not using too much enhancements. I know it's a fine line between looking perfect and just a tiny bit too much, but hey, the more you do it, the better you get at it. With the enhancements, I like to do the temple lines first and then the C-cups, and then that puts the front line in perspective for me. You usually see me go back over the front line before I apply the enhancement. Something about those two temple lines just really make flaws stand out on the front line. After I hit those flaws, I apply my water-resistant enhancement evenly across the front. Looking good. We're going to frame this work now with a tan barber pencil. If you're on brown skin clients, you do not want to use a white pencil. The contrast is too great and it looks strange. I know some areas in America, they like leaving that on without wiping it off, but here where I'm at, I like to apply an oil sheen for shine on the waves, but it also allows me to smear away about 85% of that pencil. Then I brush away some of it and wipe away the rest with a wash rag. And there's just the tiniest bit left on the skin, giving me a greater contrast between the skin color and the hair color, making that line pop in the blend as well. So the witch hazel alcohol helps lighten up the pencil a little bit too. I have to spray some holding spray to lock everything in position. I run over that line one more time with my sharper set of liners. This haircut took about 45 minutes to complete. When you first start your career, you're not going to want to take this long on teenagers or anybody else. You want to have one person maybe that you're very comfortable with that you practice a high-level service on. You need to get your numbers up in the beginning. You got to cycle through a whole bunch of people. By cutting faster in the beginning, you're going to see more hair types, different swirl patterns, and colics that you learn how to approach over the years. All right, so I'm just finishing up in the back, making sure this nape looks good. After the product, it could change some things, so I'm just adjusting as necessary. I hope these videos help you out. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them. And I'm really happy with how this came out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's a particular haircut or hair length you want me to show on here, or a certain aspect of a service that you want to see. I got you. So we always finish up hitting the strays on brush waves. Always. And that was a 1.5 blade with the grain, mid-taper. I really appreciate you watching this. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Thank you.